If someone's wanting to put a blind out still this summer, how long is it going to take deer to get used to seeing that before they can hunt it? Or is it too late?
It's not too late.
I think it depends on where you hunt, number one, and how much pressure that you have around us, around you, and what type of intrusion there is on maybe some neighboring properties. But it really doesn't take them that long. It almost seems like it acts as structure. And one of the outfitters over in Illinois used to talk about that, where they almost get to the point where they feel comfortable in and around it as a structural item.
It is. Well, if there's trees out in the middle of your plot, they go to the tree. If there's legs to a blind, they'll go to legs of the blind. I don't know that they differentiate it.
This segment of DoD TV is brought to you by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild podcast. I am Tim Chelsvik.
I'm Matt Drury, and yet again, we got Mark and Terry in with us. And
they won't leave.
Well, it is their place.
True.
We're just used to them not being here.
So cut back on fart noises.
No. And we still got the iPad with all horrible noises.
You know they're taking it away from us after this show.
From my cold dead
Pry this out of my
If we did that, it would cut your podcast in half. So we'll probably let you have it.
But it might increase the audience.
It's true.
Hey, we've gotten great feedback from this. Not from the female audience. The two people that have heard it.
We're down to one.
Females, they hate it. One was mom.
Yep. So maybe a half a person now.
I did let Willa listen to one the other day, and she was not impressed with the sound effects. And I said, Matt giggles like a little kid when he plays those things.
I mean, maybe it's just me.
He just wanted to be a morning drive time DJ. That's what I said the first time I heard.
Mm-hmm. Hey, if we end up with like 3 listeners out of this deal, like we've improved it, it's a win for everybody.
Yeah, let us know.
Mark and I would like to hear the feedback on these sound effects and see whether or not we should be or should not be doing them.
Yes, you can privately let us know in the public comments on the next podcast.
So yeah, on YouTube or in DeerCast or wherever you're going to watch this, let's hear the comments on the sound effects.
Soundboard, yay or nay?
Yeah. Thumbs up or thumbs down.
Because it can and will go away. So just let us know.
If nay, we can give you these guys' telephone numbers. You can call them.
There you go.
Yeah. Luckily, we know that these guys probably don't listen to every podcast. So just give it a couple weeks.
We never miss it, guys. We never miss the ones we're on.
When we were there, number what? 168 or 9? Wow.
Yeah. Like 11 or 12.
Yeah,
I saw 3.
Yeah, we're plugging along. Don't mind us. Every week we're churning out
pounding
the content.
Away.
That's right.
Well, we wanted to talk to you guys about what you've got going on right now. At this point in the summer, we're over a month away. Well, yeah, over a month away still from the September 15th opener here in Missouri. But what's on your radar? What's important to you at this point?
You know what? We're on a little bit of cruise control right now. We're still maintaining, trying to make sure that the weeds don't get out of control. So we're doing a little bit of that, some spot spraying and what have you, but pictures, and more pictures right now. I mean, we are really monitoring our cameras. The Reconyx pics are coming back and watching the growth, watching the development, looking for this buck, looking for that buck, who made it through, where's he at, why did he disappear, so on and so forth. Same thing we usually go through. All the sets have been trimmed, all the straps have been checked, everything's been done as far as getting ready for the season. All the blinds have been cleaned. So we're kind of a little bit on cruise control if there is such a thing.
Let me ask you, so, given the tree stand accident a few years ago, do you guys have a different off season? Because that was a set that just hadn't been checked in a while. Is there a different off season regimen you go through now?
Yeah, that regimen's pretty rigid. I will say that all either new straps or straps that were, put up last year. We went with 1,000-pound straps instead of those 350 or 500s. Yeah. We went all of the heavier or the heaviest straps we could find. And I think they make a 1,200 maybe.
For additional security straps, not the single that you get.
That's correct. Yeah. In addition to, and safe lines everywhere, making sure all of those are secure. The general rule of thumb, safety first. We're just being more cautious than ever.
Well, and that deal with the accident was such a weird fluke, and that's how they all are. That's why it's an accident. But the step, an old step in a dead part of a tree, it's hard to kind of predict something like that. Did you guys end up switching to like a ladder system in all your sets, or?
Yeah, yes. For the most part, we have ladders on all of them. And on that particular one, so everybody knows, I had my harness on, but I didn't have a safe line in that tree because it had been a while since we had visited that set, and we just didn't have a safe line in it. Had we had one, I'd have been lanyard off and hooked in, but we just didn't have one. And a step popped out of the tree, went to the ground. Rest
So
is
if
history.
somebody doesn't know, Terry took a fall. 3 falls ago?
2017.
3 seasons ago. So it changes everyone's perspective a little bit. And not that it, we should have probably been doing some of these steps before, but we grew up in an age, 35, 40 years ago, you climbed the tree, didn't have safety belt on. I remember when we were climbing with those old Baker style climbing tree stands,
And I'll be honest, a little embarrassed to say that I didn't have a safe line in that tree, but it had been a while since we'd been to it. And, there's really no excuse, to be quite honest. There's no excuse whatsoever.
I think, and don't quote me on this, you have to check out the guidelines, but I believe they say like, hey, a couple weeks after you're done using a set, you need to take it down.
Sure.
So that's that's what they recommend, just so that's out there. But anyways, the other thing that you guys started doing that I really like, you put an eye bolt in the tree as an additional possibility for you to lanyard to the tree once you're in there. So you safe line up, and you can, if you don't want to stay on the safe line, you could lanyard to an eye bolt that you guys put some sort of coating on, like a rubber coating.
And it's just a little quicker. It takes a little bit to get the strap around there if you're trying to strap in. A lot of guys stay lanyard off to their safe line.
Yeah.
But sometimes that doesn't work depending on whether you have one or two. We're two guys climbing. So sometimes that gets a little bit in the way if you're not careful trying to climb in or climb out with two guys in the same tree.
Yeah.
So in some of those, we've just got the eye bolts that are dipped. And the moment you unhook from your safe line, you hook right into the eye bolt.
Is the dip to keep it quiet when you put the carabiner on? Okay.
Yes.
It's nice. The stand that we killed Gnarly out of was one like that.
Right.
I had not been I had not hunted one of those stands like that before that. It's nice.
Smart.
You feel very safe in it because you tug on
stout.
that thing. It's in there really well.
Yeah.
So
but
we're having this conversation, and I think back, like, I don't even hunt out of trees very much anymore. Like, I'm in blinds, and part of it's safety, and part of it's being able to put it exactly where I want it. There's never a tree right where you want one. Almost never. And I'm so anal about the access in and out and where I want the deer coming to and whatnot. Like, I just more and more and more, I'm popping up more and more in Bunny blinds.
Yeah, we get a lot of crap for that as a company, the evolution of how we hunt now, food plots and box blinds, but it is just it's been an evolution to get to that point.
I'm results driven, and the results are there. They're there out of those blinds.
Yeah.
There's just something about being able to sit where you want to, as opposed to where Mother Nature tells you can sit.
I would say there's a few people that have succumbed to that thought, because I'm seeing blinds everywhere.
Yeah, you drive to your hunting camp, you look out on the landscape of the country, the Midwest, and they're dotted with going up to the least. There's a spot in the river bottoms there. You see, there's one area where maybe it's a mile long. You probably might see 6 blinds. Yeah. Like, it's just boom, 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 boom. Yep. I mean, it's definitely a strategy that people have taken to in general.
Go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to say there's a cottage industry of guys making their own blinds too.
Yes.
JJ and Kyle had Shantylicious or whatever that they built and
themselves.
Rolled out.
Yeah.
It's like, you probably got tetanus from it, but it works.
Yeah.
I was going to say that from a safety standpoint, not only is it's nice for the adult, but so many guys are taking their kids now.
Yep.
And you're not having to subject them to being in a tree stand and getting a safety line on them and all that. And having kids up in general longer and through different weather conditions and all that. So,
or with other people, it's not so convenient to put 2 or 3 stands in a tree. Whereas, hey, let's all 4 of us go tonight. You can do that in a blind.
We got
kind of makes it a little more social.
Got to experience that firsthand last fall, and the year before that we had took Cameron once, but it's amazing because we were sitting out in some pretty brutally cold stuff in December, and with the blind, even having to keep one window open, putting a little buddy heater or whatever they're called, Mr. Buddy heater, it's not that bad with a few layers on the kid. I mean, you would never have been able to just sit in I remember hunting with you back in the day, and you had even built a homemade blind. You set me out on the open air side of it, and you sat back in the corner.
That's a windbreak.
Yeah, And I just remember freezing my butt off. You know, it was miserable. Brutal. I did not care for it. Hunting in general, just that experience to me was not a fun one. It's miserable. Dad would fall asleep. I would look. We never saw anything. And I just got cold.
Sure.
Well, it's because your clothes were so high tech.
yeah, that's right. You know, you had like a pair of Carhartt type of, you know, bib overalls, and that was
an uninsulated rubber boot with wet feet.
Yes. Boy, there were some days in Iowa, man. I
brutal.
Talk about freezing, man. We've had some back in the day because we didn't really start hunting, you know, enclosures or blinds until the last 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yep.
So we had another couple decades there where we were, 3 decades where we were hunting in tree stands solely and froze literally to death many, many times.
It feels like once you bought the current farm you have there near Kirksville, that's when we started with the homemade blinds. That's what I feel like is the kind of start of it.
And the reasoning behind that was because Taylor, she was maybe 6 or 7 years old at that time. And we got the wild hair to try and build some blinds so she could sit on the floor and shoot and all that stuff. And
no question.
And I think she killed her first 2 or 3 deer there out of those blinds.
The terrain we're hunting is always rolled. So you want to get out on the hump where all the deer are. And it just makes it a lot easier to get your height up there where you can see them a lot better. So I'm sold on them. I mean, I love that Muddy Bull, and we've gotten to the point now with our scent control between scent-free showers with all of the different, you know, soaps and scent-free spray you can get from HS to scent crushing everything on a daily basis, a daily regimen, and then getting into that blind and keeping those windows closed. Man, we have killed some downwind deer in the last.
That's the amazing
years.
thing to me that you could.
We've killed a
seal yourself in.
Deer. Yeah,
the hard part is opening up. Just from from a perspective,
it really is.
You can't, you know, they make them pretty silent, but they're still inherently your release aid or something like knocks something else.
Sounds like you're speaking from experience.
A tack cam hits a window
and hits it again.
These types of things happen.
This can't be happening.
The one time.
Can you run that B-roll?
Please.
But you know you would, a lot of what I had noticed for me, the aha moment is the difference of that spot on the lease, the staging plot. I've sat it 3 years before in a tree stand, and what level of our amount of deer I would see versus last year we moved the blind there, and the amount of deer and bucks that we saw was night and day. It wasn't even close. It wasn't even a contest.
It shows you how much you're affecting them without controlling so many elements of the hunt.
Well, and we would hunt where we felt like it was on the right wind, perfect conditions, and it just wasn't perfect. You know, that's a top of a hill, and you know, at the end of the night, you know that your thermals are sliding down.
Not only that, deer coming up a hill that you don't see yet or catch a movement in that tree. I mean, there's so many things, so many advantages they have over us, and those blinds really help even the playing field a little bit.
Yeah.
If someone's wanting to put a blind out still this summer, how long is it going to take deer to get used to seeing that before they can hunt it? Or is it too late?
It's not too late.
I think it depends on where you hunt, number one, and how much pressure that you have around you, and you know what type of intrusion there is on maybe some neighboring properties. But it really doesn't take them that long. It almost seems like it acts as structure. And one of the outfitters over in Illinois used to talk about that, where they almost get to the point where they feel comfortable in and around it as a structural item.
It is. Well, if there's trees out in the middle of your plot, they go to the tree. If there's legs to a blind, they'll go to legs of the blind. I don't know that they differentiate it that much, you know, and on my farm, they are a tree because every deer that's come through there has seen multitude of these blinds. And therefore, when a new one pops up, it's just like a tree in all honesty, because they're not used to catching scent out of them, because more often than not, they're empty. And when we are there, we're very controlled with our scent. I mean, I killed Danger within like 3 or 4 days of sliding it into the woods and killing there, you know? So, and he didn't think a thing of it. So, certainly, the earlier the better, but don't be afraid to put one up, brush it in, and hunt it, you know, 3 or 4 days later. Okay. At least 3 or 4, I would say.
Well, I remember back, you know, a decade ago, hunting over in Pike County at an outfitter, and they had their blinds on slides. They'd move them to wherever they needed them all the time. So, you know, you'd see deer.
Absolutely.
You know, maybe that first night out wouldn't be as ideal, but then they might eye you up a little differently.
Why I love that Omega lift from Keen, man. You can put it wherever you want it. You know, instead of investing in a blind and going, well, I'm stuck to this farm on this wind. when there's a big investment in the blind. If you pay a little bit more and put it on a trailer, you can move that sucker to a lot of different places and get a lot more use out of each blind.
Particularly as your food source starts to go away. If there's browse pressure on one end and then all of a sudden, the main food source is right here, you want to move that blind to where you're at least on top of it.
Absolutely.
That's what we did last year and the year before. It just gave us the ability to move it into spots late season where maybe I could convince the farmer to leave me a couple acres on the corner of the property. I had no way to hunt that part. So you move in the trailer with a blind on top of it, and all of a sudden you're set and ready to go for the right exact wind you need in the late season,
big time,
middle of a field. So there are a lot of advantages there.
Absolutely. So we got any questions of the day today, Tim?
We have one from Staff Sargent Burnett.
A question of the day is proudly brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here.
Hey, my name is Staff Sargent Burnett. I'm a recruiter down here in Portsmouth, Ohio, Southern Ohio. I just wondered, how close to a deer rub or to a deer scrape should you hang a tree stand? Thanks.
Perfect. That was good and brief.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service.
100%.
God bless you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, big time. Standing ovation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So
that one, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I'm not as maybe as keyed in on rubs anymore as we used to be many years ago. But a rub to me now is just a spot where a deer happened to stop, unless it's one of those major rubs that are, maybe in the center of a bunch of spoke effect where there's a lot of trails coming to it. But for the most part, I disregard the rubs to a certain extent, provided the deer are there and you got pictures of bucks. What I key in on are the scrapes. And I mean, I'm within a lot of times, or oftentimes within 17, 18 yards, or a really, really easy chip shot, and situating a stand or cutting limbs to make sure that he's either quartering away or broadside when he's at that scrape, or walking from one scrape to the next scrape. We literally will go down the edge of a field and cut off all of those overhanging limbs, except the limbs that I want him to go and scrape at this one, and then walk in front of my set and scrape at that one. We do that often.
It's brilliant.
Likewise. So
goes back to structure, right?
Yeah, it's structure. And to his point, if they're at like 25 and in, that'd be my preference, 30 and in. And if I don't have a scrape, close, or if it's not where I want it, I'll cut that one off and I'll put scrape trees out there.
Yeah.
And I have really good luck with those scrape trees out in the middle of a plot. One right here, both of them at about 25. When he passes, he's 20 to 23. And
sure,
I like that distance and like that angle.
So guys that like, hanging on a traditional rub line, where you'll see, 4 or 5 big rubs all in a row. Maybe it's more of like a rut type of a situation. So you do a hang and a hunt, right there.
I think rubs, like Terry said, they're just happenstance. Are they marking their territory? Probably. But in reality, when I see deer rubbing, it's just he's in the mood to rub right then and there when he hits that particular spot. But what I do pay attention to, especially during shed season or tracking a deer when you're in the cover, if you see clusters of rubs, that's telling you there's a buck that's staying in that spot a lot. So I think rubs, when they're clustered, especially if they're decent size, can help you identify certain bedrooms or certain bedding activity for big whitetails.
Agreed.
Great.
And timing is everything when you're trying to hunt those clusters.
Absolutely.
Because you want to try and get in there without bumping him out of there, and you don't know if he's in that bedroom yet or not. So it can be precarious hunting those rubs. Scrapes, if you have the opportunity at a food source or even on a logging road, sometimes it's a little bit easier to get to them.
How does time of year impact how you hunt scrapes, or does it?
Yeah, I that end of October in Missouri, northern Missouri, there is always really, really good for scrapes. Yeah, and even this year we've got a full moon on, the 1st of October and I think the 31st. So we got 2 full moons in October. So that period leading up to that 1st of October, there's going to be a few deer hitting scrapes, just not like that end of October. Sure. And he mentioned one thing on his scrape trees that he places out in the middle of those food plots. I like to take a saw and then put a big shining rub on those scrape trees as well, just to let them know from a distance at 200 or 250 yards, they can see that it's almost like a little road sign out there for them.
For about guys doing that on public land to turn people onto the wrong trail.
Oh, really?
So you want to hunt over here.
Vicious tactics.
Yeah, it's evil.
Vicious tactics.
Evil genius.
Tim, make sure it's realistic.
I've just heard this.
Shed antler with you and do it right.
Yeah. Might be there a while.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Staff Sargent Burnett, for your question. If you want to leave a question for us, just click the link in the show notes, click the send voicemail tab, and leave your name, location, and what you want to know.
And again, thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it greatly.
So, that's, before the fall hits, we would probably be able to get these guys in for maybe like another podcast or two. Maybe we ask guys if they have specific questions for Mark or Terry, or we could do a separate podcast, because we don't really ever do that where we ask for a specific guest questions for that guest. So
that was a good question.
Yeah, just a heads up.
Absolutely. It's a great question.
Let's hear it.
Let's do it. Okay. Wildlife word?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Why not?
You said we got a sound effect for the wild.
It's close. It's that one.
All right,
there we go. We're rolling in. Okay, so I'm going to give you it's a little different this time. I'm going to give you a definition, and then you see if you can come up with what the multiple choice is that corresponds to that. So when a buck holds his neck and chin upward at a 45-degree angle, opens his mouth slightly, curls his upper lip, closes his nostrils, he's said to be performing a Flehmen response. What is the purpose of the Flehmen response? Is it A, the intimidation of a rival buck, B, echolocation of a hot doe, C, the urinalysis of a hot doe, or D, showing his subordinates?
Or E, posing for a picture after you just killed him, because that's really the best position to have him.
What do you think, guys?
Intimidation of a rival buck, echolocation of a hot doe, the urinalysis of a hot doe, or showing his subordinates?
I think it could be any of those. Like I see bucks do that often.
You would probably automatically pick A, because you see it oftentimes. They'll snort, wheeze, and do that response at another buck or a younger buck, an immature buck. But you see them do it at does as well.
You see them do it,
pretty frequently, often. Actually.
Yep. And that's exactly what's happening. And so it's C, the urinalysis of a hot doe, and big cats will do this. Horses will do it, and they're pulling in air, usually around a doe that's hot. They're pulling in air into that vomeronasal organ that's up in there.
And they love it.
And they're checking to see if she's ready to roll.
I waited all year for this. I waited all year for this.
And they go, that's her.
But it makes sense that you would see that you would think that it's also maybe an intimidation of a rival buck, because they're doing it probably when there are other bucks around.
Yeah.
We see it quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, I see that action quite often.
Sure.
Yep.
And part of it is the number of deer that are on the field,
Yeah, for sure.
It's a high density. You'll see that more often.
All right.
Changing lives with a wildlife word.
That's right.
That was a good word, Tim.
That was a good one.
That was probably one of the better ones.
One of the better ones. Yeah.
I was actually interested.
It actually applied.
The best you can hope for is a backhanded compliment. I will take that, sir.
Good job, Tim.
All right. Well, why don't we shut this thing down, huh, guys? I don't think we have anything else to promote. Just tune in next time.
I always got something to promote, Tim.
Speaking of,
I'd like to just continue to remind people that all of our new shows are airing on the Outdoor Channel.
Heck yeah.
13, Critical Mass, and Bow Madness. We're probably in week 8 or so right now, week 7, 8, I would say, by the time this airs.
Yeah,
so halfway through the season, a lot of good content getting ready to hit. And as always, check out DeerCast. We're ramping up further and further and further with the team, the amount of posts, the fan shares, the content going in there. It's awesome, man. So we're dialing it in, and we're getting ready for the fall. And as you start to create your plans for putting in food plots and all that stuff, check out the weather side of what DeerCast has to offer, laying out the map for you. So articles, daily articles.
We should also remind people that now you can share content directly from DeerCast. Yeah. So if you saw an article or a video in there previously that you're like, I wish I could share it to Facebook, you can do that now by hitting the little share button next to the like and comment buttons. So you can do that. We've also given you your own feed in DeerCast. It's the My Posts tab. So you click that, it'll show you everything that you've ever uploaded to DeerCast. So it's your own personal, customized feed.
All right.
They say content is king, and DeerCast is full of content. It really is. Those news feeds, the articles and stuff, they're so informative.
How many are we up to now? How many total articles?
700 and something in the teens.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a lot.
It's exciting.
A lot. And all of them are,
they're nice.
Really, really good.
Staff of writers.
Very informational.
Very good.
Great staff of writers.
Heck yeah.
100%.
They knocked it out of the park. All right.
So if you can't learn something from it,
We can't help you any other way.
We're trying. I can't read.
I can't read. You suck, Matt.
Why don't we end it there?
Okay.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Peace out.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV was brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's.